Hey guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. It is time for our regular weekly Discovery episode review. Today we are looking at episode 9, Project Daedalus.
And this is our concise, edited review of all the graphics, and then you should join in for our live tonight, which is at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in a concise form, what do you think of episode 9, Stuart?
I thought it was great. I didn't expect to like it. There was a few issues with it, a few plot holes that I couldn't quite get my head around. But overall, it was very enjoyable and better than I anticipated.
So I thought this episode was great. It's probably one of the most solid ones they've done, because it progresses the main story, which means there's always a sense of discovery, and Spock is absolutely a standout. He's pushing the acting up the entire episode, and I thought everyone brought a higher game in this episode than other ones across the board, which was refreshing, because Spock is pushing Burnham, the actress, to act more, and it's really worth it. The only problems I had really were at the end, and the fact that the Ariyam stuff isn't earned, because if they knew they were going to kill her, she should have been a character the whole season, rather than, oh, look, there she is. Oh, look, there she is. And she gets 3 lines.
Yeah, at least the beginning part where we get to learn about her memories and her friendships in this one and kind of humanize her would have been nice to be done 2 episodes ago, let's say. So they had a minute or 2 with her before.
Because then the end is like everyone's so drained, you're like, I mean, yeah, I guess they made me feel for this episode, but like you knew you were going to kill her, so you make her a big part of the season. You don't do everything in this episode. So that was a poor writing choice, and it showed that even though they're trying to be more ensemble, they can't quite commit to going beyond the Burnham treatment, because they could have she could have been on. I'm sure she was a better choice to be on other missions earlier in the season when her skill set's clearly exceptional. Why was she still relegated to be on the bridge? But the way they did it, this episode was great. Just should have been more put around, and the reveal at the end's interesting. And not much else happens really, but it's this great sort of gentle build. And I did find myself stopping saying how long's left, because it's a good build. And the Spock and Burnham's in the middle with the chest, like the whole thing is just excellent.
We kind of both agree then, because this is, like I said, from watching the trailer, I was like, I'm not going to like this one. It just looks so stupid and out of context, but it's actually really well delivered. So.
I think it was one of those few episodes where every storyline is well done. Normally there's one that's weak, one that really shouldn't be there, and it just drags the whole thing down. Even the Stamets and Spock scene is really good, and there's everything is just refined more. This feels like a script that actually had time to breathe. They had time to refine it, a few more passes, whereas some other ones, while better, it's like, oh, this scene really should have been given a second or third or fourth draft. This one feels a lot more drafted through.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. The Spock Burnham scene was absolutely fantastic. I'm really enjoying Ethan Peck as Spock. I think he's doing a great job. The one issue I have, though, is the fact that since Leonard Nimoy, no one seems to know how to Spock, because they tend to write him very emotionally, even in the Kelvin films. This one, I get an underlying sense of disdain and just enjoyment from hurting Burnham. Or it could be because of the confusion he's just recently experienced as well. But it just comes off a little bit wrong. He does a fantastic job of delivering it, but it's just dripping with emotion, which is something we don't really associate with Spock all too much. I know it is a prevalent theme sometimes in TOS.
Yeah, I knew you were going to have a problem with that. I knew you were going to call that out specially. This is why in the scene notes I included a cut directly to the next Spock chess scene with Kirk, and he's dripping with emotion the entire scene. Yeah. It's awful. I mean, he's not acting at all like Spock. They've given us, for the first time, a plot reason. I rewatched an episode for a different reason. The episode Enterprise, when Saval is being tortured by Shran, and they break down his mental barriers, and he goes all emotional, and Gary Graham gets to act like Gary Graham. And then from that point onwards, he can't control it because they've broken down his mental block. And he's no longer the same cold season 1 boring Vulcan. There's a story reason that he's not the same man with the same logic. So the fact that he's keeping it together so much, I think, is very impressive. The only emotion he is showing, which I thought is why it works, is it is just that disdain. All the other emotions are in check, but it's that single piece, because he's been forced into the situation with a woman he does not like, and it represents so many things he doesn't want. And so, I mean, he's obviously annoyed at himself and not be able to work out, Like, he's annoyed at the universe right now for making him this important thing and hurting him personally, and then he's having to look at the woman who betrayed him. And so I think that one, like, if he was happy in scenes and crying and laughing, but it's the fact that there's one emotion that he's expressing, and the rest of it is so tapered. Like, if you look at his eyes, they're so focused, and yet he raises his voice and it amps up, but it amps up in such a beautifully controlled way until a snap. They're on a very, very tight rope. And because there's a story reason, it's fine. And again, compare it to Spock in the first other pilot. But yeah, that line, I mean, you can fall on either side of the line, but I think they hit that line pretty much perfectly.
I'll agree to that, sure. I just want to see a Spock that reminds me of Spock. It just seems like all the new Spocks they just write them emotionally. That's all I'm saying.
But the main plot then is the Section 31 base, which used to be a prison. That was a plot point. And Cornwall comes in, didn't expect that to bring him there. That's the catalyst for that, to go against Section 31 that they think has now gone too far, that the admirals in control of that have taken everything a little bit too far, and we need to stop them. And then it's revealed, no, they're all dead. The AI is in control the whole time. What do you think about that sort of main plot point?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It kind of hit me out of left field. Last night on my live first reaction, somebody said, I noticed that I figured that out 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how. I understand that the admirals were spouting, like, AI probabilities and stuff in the last episode, but it didn't clue in until this episode that's why they were doing it. So yeah, I didn't see it coming, but that was really interesting. It kind of nullifies the admirals know what's going on with Section 31 and are in control, because they're not. They found out what was going on with Section 31, I think, and got killed for it. But there's still a lot to be left uncovered there, or still a lot left uncovered that we need to find out. So,
well, that's the weird tonal shift at the end. It swaps from this epic situation to she's dead, sad, but it's like the computer's still going to try and kill you all. Like, the threat hasn't diminished at all, just the ability for the AI to grow faster. It's like you're still in absolute danger. And I did think at the end, why doesn't Control just beam Ariyam back to the station and then use flying drones, because they have flying drones in multiple parts of the Discovery universe now, just to take out a data core and pull information. Like, the whole plot point was that the virus thing got Ariyam to download into herself, to upload herself into the computer, but download all of the data with AIs from the big energy ball thing, which then it was getting to Section 31 base to upload to the AI, so it could then use that data to become smarter and then grow and then become a sentient AI creature. And he said that I downloaded 25% of that data to the AI that was in control of the station, which is in control of Section 31. But that threat's still there. We didn't actually do anything about the threat, just the future threat. So it's weird that it all ends, and it's like, but you're in massive danger, and why, like I said, why don't you just beam Ariyam there? She's an organic with synthetic. Take out her data, and then plug it back in. Like, I mean, if she was smart, she'd delete it, but I don't think she had that much control. I was like, I'm sure the station has transporters. So I was kind of like, plot hole. Like,
that was brought up a lot last night, because they're like, why didn't the Discovery just beam Ariyam out? It's like, well, my thought is it's a prison complex, so it's designed to. They said they couldn't sense life forms because of that reason, but they beamed in. So okay, maybe the control let them drop. The control dropped the shields, whatever. But then, even after she got airlocked, why not beam her directly from space onto Discovery to save her life? They did it with Tyler in the Mirror Universe. Yeah. So it is a glaring plot hole. It could be there's a scattering field even when she gets airlocked out.
But you would think the AI would want to save her.
So that's one of the issues that really bugged me, the whole beaming kind of plot hole thing that wasn't really addressed. I don't know if there was a line of dialogue that I missed about why they couldn't beam her out.
But I think it's kind of one of those, same with not Pavo, well, yes with Pavo, but with Kelpia or Kaminar, is that this epic, important for this one storyline, and then it's going to be dropped to the next storyline. They're not going to talk about how they could have beamed her, how they could have saved her, the information's in her. That's all going to be dropped because the point was the death. Move on. It's like, no, there's you haven't answered. I don't know if you watched the trailer for next episode. They sort of seem like they move past this quite quickly. But it's like the AI is still the biggest threat. That should be instantly. The next episode should start with Burnham looking at the body in space and then saying, right, now we've got to deal with the AI, and it keeps going. It should be a two-parter in that sense, because they haven't solved anything. They've just stopped the or they've slowed the inevitable slash sped up the inevitable to get. But yeah. Anyway, but the Section 31 thing, I liked the base, although it shouldn't have a base.
I also like the fact. Well, yeah, I thought so as well. But I like the fact that it was mined, and Pike's like, we don't use mines in the Federation. It's unethical. Oh, but we were at a war with the Klingons, and we need to protect our assets. And it's like, well, then we've just lost because we've compromised our beliefs for that. So that was a great moment. So yeah, the base idea was kind of stupid, but at the same time, the whole going against the Federation a la Section 31 was really well done there. So.
And they mentioned that, well, the Klingons are cloaked ships, so mines are really useful. And it's like, actually, yeah, that's an obvious way of working against cloaked ships. Mines, yeah, absolutely, especially with random courses and stuff. And the Cornwall does particularly call out, yeah, when these grey areas start to come up, that Pike argues, well, why was I kept behind so I can argue these Federation points? She said, no, you were kept away because you're the best of Starfleet. You're one of the best. So we, if we were to lose, we need you out there. And he's like, oh, thanks. It's a great little moment. Yeah. It's cute as hell.
Yeah, and it was unexpected too. It's like that was a plan. They didn't recall the Enterprise back for that very reason, to keep one of their best and brightest in reserve, essentially, in case something went wrong. They needed to have like a backup plan.
I was fine with the base as a base, but since the headquarters, that broke it for me, because it should just be an outpost or a relay station. Any centralized locations is a problem. That said, what I think is clear that Discovery is now doing, they've created the problem Section 31, but they're also solving the problem Section 31, that it has gone, the way they were using it is this AI it's just a part of Starfleet as an intelligence agency. Just got the AI is great, everyone uses it, huzzah, Admirals as oversight, AI goes too far, kills people, and then once you kill the AI and the Admirals are dead, well, what's left of Section 31 except the base agents, and they themselves couldn't be trusted to rule. And so, yeah, the thing gets disbanded formally, but some agents go off and do their own thing, and this is when, they've like I said, they're making it super public so they can make it a threat, so they can then destroy Section 31 and allow them to be clandestine for DS9. So I think they're rectifying their own deliberate, thing. It's implying, I guess that's the Ariyam plot. They said in dialogue, but I think we'll see, is that it's the AI that controls Section 31 in the pre-TOS timeline that becomes sentient and then actively chooses it in 2750 to destroy all life in the galaxy. And that's the AI, and it infested Ariyam, and then it then created this new plan to get itself the data earlier, to then evolve earlier. And it's like, interesting.
Yeah, if they decide to go that route, that makes the most sense right at this moment, but who's to say, really? One thing I found interesting was the fact that Ariyam did, in fact, download all of her memories and stuff to Discovery before she left. I really liked, so that might lead into Calypso, with her being the AI on the ship, her personality. I could really buy that connection now. And I also like Non in this episode. We got confirmation she's a Barzan, because people have been saying she wasn't, because they're not a Federation member world, even though we called it right away. So that was awesome. And the fact that Non was actually like on Ariyam. You saw her like snooping around, making sure everything was good. She's obviously a good security officer. I liked that aspect of this episode as well. Everybody kind of got a moment or two. And that being said, even Stamets and Spock, I love the way that they kind of helped each other with their conversation there. Like, Stamets is like, why did it pick you? What's unique about you? And Spock's like, well, I'm half human, but that's not unprecedented. There are more of us, so I'm not really sure. And then it goes to the whole Hugh and Stamets relationship. Like, Spock says, maybe he didn't leave you because he doesn't have feelings for you. He just doesn't know who he is. Because Spock can relate to that at the moment, because he's, I think, in that stage as well. He doesn't quite know who he is after. So it was really a great episode, brought a lot of things together. But I would have liked to have known Ariyam a little bit earlier, like 2 episodes earlier. This scene with the downloading memories would have been great.
It's like when Sorrow's on his deathbed, we're meant to see him and Burnham cry and be best friends, and it's like, for season 1 you hate each other and you had no connection and you had hate each other for 7 years, this isn't earned. Ariyam is not earned. Like, we like her because she looks cool, and she got 3 great moment scenes, and we felt sorry for her because she was being taken over by artificial being. But yeah, it was completely unearned. Still well done, just poor season arc building.
And we did get confirmation she is in fact human, but cybernetically upgraded. So that was good, because that kind of answered a question we've had all along. Was she an alien species? Was she human? Well, we know now, so that's great.
They should have been more with the front 2, I think, like with the piloting. I felt very underwhelmed. I expect when they said let's be random, because the AI, and I love that little twist. It's like, let's outthink the AI by being random. Nice choice, because it wasn't just minefield. It's a targeted minefield, which takes out the randomness of a minefield. But then they go random by just different people calling out maneuvers. But it's like, if you're a machine and you see the start of a maneuver, which is in your database, you can instantly know what maneuver it is. So as soon as they said fly random, I was assuming she just go, whatever she wanted, and that deconstructed quickly, just this maneuver, then this maneuver. It's like, but they're all maneuvers, so you can calculate them. I was hoping we'd get a scene of her being like, she's piloting like, whoa, this is awesome, and speed, and like that was gonna be cool, and it just completely didn't do that.
Now, do you think the whole use of holograms for both the admirals and for the fake footage for basically framing Spock, I think that's going to fall in line with the fact that they stop using holograms, right? Because as we said, we thought they could be easily hacked and maybe operate ship controls, but it could be that because of this incident, the holograms kind of go the way of the dinosaur. I personally would like to see a step towards the TOS tech, but it's a great theory. One of our admins, Doug, suggested this, that maybe they Section 31 creates a virus of some kind, and so they need to, or the control tries to take over the computers, and they have to kind of downgrade the computers to more of a primitive style to avoid that kind of control. That might be an interesting plot point, to fall in line with the TOS more primitive looking tech.
And so, what other plot points are there? The Spock.
Michael Burnham's parents. Her parents being murdered with her in the closet, and her blaming herself for not being able to help them, and Spock's literally like, "You were a child. You would have been murdered as well." Like, the way he slapped her down was great, and that scene was fantastic. So that's one of the plot points.
Although we've never weirdly enough, we've never dwelled on her origin. On the parents' death thing, we've always skipped that and gone straight to her relationship with Sarek. So it's weird then heavily reintroduce that as like we've never, like, that's never really been a thing beyond the obvious. It's sad, not a problem, but whatever. I also like that he counters her as well. I mean, it counters a lot of stuff he says. I think he can finally think clearly and see things that she's I mean, she's very much in her own head as a woman, as a character, but he says that the logic extremists were after me because I'm half-breed. They weren't after you. You were just a side effect. And I know that, so I know I've put my family at risk, and that's affected me as a child and me as a person. And so I can imagine if he thinks that, and then seeing her leave as well, it's like, well, you didn't even think it through, you stupid girl, at the age of whatever you were. If you'd stayed, we could have all done this as a family. I hate you even more. Bad logic.
Yeah. Well, speaking of logic extremists, what did you think when you heard that Admiral Patel was a logic extremist?
I thought, no, she's not. What?
Yeah. I was like, well, that's damn odd.
That's absurd writing. How many Vulcans in Starfleet? How many Admiral Vulcans in Starfleet? And you're saying, so the ones that bombed places because they don't want humans on Vulcan, they rose to the rank of Admiral. Now I can more on board if she was Admiral for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and then suddenly lost 10. She changed from a conservative Democrat, but radical Democrat. I don't know what I'm just saying names from whatever. But then you'd say, Admiral, this is a wrong political, you can't be this political, calm down. But then she's in Section 31, and she's presumably, they keep mentioning her, she's presumably one of the heads up, if not the head of that branch. But I was like, that's really an unnecessary thing to add, that Starfleet, what are you doing? You're giving them a lot of leeway, and they did hang themselves with a rope that you gave them. But awful. Yeah, bad moment.
Yeah.
For me. What about you? I mean, am I talking nonsense there?
No, not at all. Once people absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So once you get in that position of power, you can start to kind of work your own agenda. So I kind of I thought when I heard Logic Extremist, I'm like, well, okay, that kind of makes sense. She's using Section 31 to maybe, further her own agenda, but it kind of struck me as odd. And then, of course, we find out that she's actually been dead for 2 weeks at least. Which makes me think that when they spoke to Leland and Giorgio in the last episode, that all the admirals in that hologram were actually dead, because I don't know how long of time has elapsed, but I can't imagine it's been 2 weeks. It seems like a day or two at the most.
Yeah, time is not consistent per se, especially when you can warp between places very quickly, as they've sort of skipped over a little bit this season. And back to 2 weeks for a sec. Do you think 2 weeks then is the time between the probe attacking the shuttle and infecting Ariyam, who then is infected with a virus that knows about the future, who then contacts Section 31 control, who is, getting its own ideas, but it's nowhere near there yet, and it then starts the ball rolling, just like in Terminator 3. The future Skynet infuses the current pre-Skynet and to become evil Skynet. It's like, well, you just... And then that's when it turned on, and that's when it killed all the admirals, because Ariyam linked in and started sending information, and that was the catalyst for that.
It could be, absolutely. Like, it could be that the admirals got wind that something was going on, it was acting strange, and attempted to shut it down, so it decided, well, I'm just going to kill you guys, and take your images and use them as my own.
Because then you create this destination paradox of it created itself. The AI from the future was able to create itself, or in my opinion, because time is, I don't think that can't be that, whatever. I think it's more that it's now sped itself up. That now the threat that we had, I mean, can you imagine the resources that Section 31 has? How much is automated? And we know this AI has now got 25% of this knowledge, which we can assume is a lot. And we can assume that it can data stream itself across a network. It's not limited to the computer of one station. So now I can very much see the end of the storyline being that it's not the threat from the future that's the problem. It's the threat from the now, which has been forced to start quicker. And that's when we have to have the Enterprise refit to a more TOS-looking war variant, like tactical variant. We see the D7s come in because the Section 31's AI can create these ships very quickly at our bases. And those are now attacking things with information from the future, with plans and stuff. And then, because we stop it in the now, it stops it in the future. And so that's the connective tissue of all of it, is that if this is the thing that is the threat in the future, it will never get to be the future if we can kill it now.
And something interesting that Ariyam said right before she died was, "Everything's your fault, Michael." Yes. Or your response. I forget the exact quote. I have it written down, but that really kind of perked my ears.
It's all because of you.
You talked about this. Quote. Yes, it's all because of you, which could imply that Michael was originally supposed to die before the Red Angel took over. Maybe this orb has knowledge of the universe after Michael has died for some reason. Maybe it's gone through a dimensional thing or a time portal or something, because it was this 100,000-year-old thing that could have experienced so many different phenomenon. Maybe that's one of the pieces of information. I don't know.
I mean, but Burnham herself, I would rather think isn't the cause, because everyone around her is more qualified than her in different reasons. I would prefer to think that even Spock's important, that the Red Angel has saved her and allowed the crew to rally together because of these different missions, which then obviously got them to information, which then the AI wanted, which then got it happen early. Like the Red Angel did this calculation from the future saying, if we can get the AI to be born earlier, then we can stop it earlier. We can't stop it in the future.
That's brilliant.
We've already lost. But if we can paradox it into existing 400 years earlier, and this crew with a spore, because we haven't got the spore drive in the future, although we do the future, but no. So I think this actually might be a very nicely round up piece. And then by the end of it, we see a fresh Connie, back, refitted, rush to war, and therefore it looks like Connie because that's the new version with the new shielding, for example. D7s come in because they have to do a joint task force. the Section 01's been destroyed, at least the primary infrastructure takes itself with it. The threat from the future's destroyed. The Red Angel doesn't even matter who it is. I would even say there's not even a reveal. It's just, it did its job. We've saved the universe. Doesn't even need to be it's just a time agent. You know what I mean? Who's the Angel? Doesn't matter.
Still a possibility it's Ariyam, or at least her body that's being used.
I would take that out of the equation now, but or it could be a future. Well, I think that still works better if it's the ship, because then AI versus AI. Because imagine if the Discovery in the future comes out and sees that an AI has decimated the entire galaxy, and it's a good AI seeing the humanity of people, of love. It evolved, because that must be a parallel. One AI evolved naturally to find love. One evolved to want to kill everything. I'm really putting this together, aren't I? And one kills the entire universe. And then one AI goes back one way. The other AI goes back another way with the drone, with the time rip, which I must assume it created. And then you get this AI versus AI future battle. And it ends up with a win. And there you go. Season
Brilliant.
2.
Sounds like its own episode, though. We shouldn't. This kind of went off track on the episode review.
That'd be a good season if that was the payoff, because everything then actually pays off. And Spock's there because he needs to do something. Get this crew together in a certain way is part of the plan, and and there you go.
Perfect.
So final score, Stuart. Closing thoughts and final score.
Closing thoughts. Like I said, way better than I anticipated. Fairly well written. Slide one or two minor plot things,
which might be addressed next week.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Well directed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And some really great acting and character moments for sure, especially between Burnham and Spock. I really love that. So my final score for it would be an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I anticipated. And I guess maybe going in with those low expectations, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not sure, but the trailer just didn't do this one justice. The trailer just looked like random action. Ariyam goes bad from the beginning and they have to stop her. It wasn't quite that. There was a lot more to it. A lot more layers. It's like an onion, like an ogre. What are your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, I think it was a solid one. A couple of plot holes, as you said, but they might be addressed, or they might be done like Kelpia, just ignored and move on. If my theory is correct, it's a good season, or they could still all fall apart. But this definitely puts more dominoes, or it shows more of the dominoes in the trail. And I think I'm gonna give this one maybe a 9.
Ooh, wow!
Because besides the end, I didn't see anything wrong with it. And for me, that's pretty good, as you can imagine. There's not, the effects were good. They're a little bit dark in the minefield, a little bit season 1. But I mean, whatever. It's a Section 01 scene.
It was funny, more... in the minefield specifically, one of the mines strikes the back of the ship right above the shuttle bay, and I'm like, oh, the force field's going to go down. It's going to decompress, and the door's going to slam shut, as kind of like hey, this should be shut. Didn't happen, but one hit right there, and I was waiting for it. I thought that'd be fantastic, but anyway.
Damn the shuttle bay doors. So yeah, tune in for our full scene-by-scene breakdown later on today with all the great more visuals and discussion, and with you, the fans. Let us know what you think, because I've completely been out of context. I have no idea what anyone else thought. You did your first reaction yesterday. Didn't know what you thought until today, and hopefully we'll see what the fans think, because I like to debate about this one, because see what people hate about it, because there's always some haters, and this one I think is pretty good. Apart from the end. But,
So, guys, tune into the live later, and we look forward to seeing you there. But I guess we'll call that quits for today. So, thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.